Da, da, da. You're not a boomerang. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, right? I think it's Tuesday. I'll just give it a couple of minutes, see if anyone wants to hop on live, but that's okay. Miranda's here! I started at 12:30 just for you. And I'm open to requests, so if any of you out there are watching, whenever you're watching, even if you're not watching live, this is a big experiment for me, running these Facebook Lives every day, and I'm totally willing to play with the times. So if you want to be here live, which would be awesome because I respond to comments in real time, and I can answer your questions live if you want to post them as you're watching, leave your time request in the comments. Let me know when you're just usually hanging out on Facebook. Leave your time zone, and I will kind of be peppering these throughout the times, throughout the days, depending on requests. I'm open to requests. So I have been doing 12 Eastern, but today I'm doing 12:30 because Miranda, who's out there watching, asked for it. So here we go. As we get started, quick little reminder as always, please feel free to share these videos either with your community or your circle, or if there's someone in particular who you think could use this message, pass it along to them, invite them to follow along. If you haven't yet already, feel free to like the page and turn the notifications on so that when I do go live, if you want to be here live, you can be notified of that. And leave all your comments. Leave your comments, leave your questions. Respond to the video. That would be great because even if you can't watch live, I'm coming in and answering all those throughout the day. So today's topic, which I've been brainstorming the names for because I'm a big fan of metaphors, I decided to go with the name, You Are Not a Boomerang. Boop. And I'm going to erase that because I'm going to use my whiteboard again because I'm a big fan of my whiteboards. Now, what I mean by you are not a boomerang is this. Sometimes when I am working with someone, we will get to a point where they say to me, you know what? I feel like I've wasted all my time. Or they say things like, I've decided I don't want to do this anymore, and this has all been a huge waste. Or if they're thinking about a decision that they want to make, kind of like a fork in the road, and I'll draw it. Right? But they're going along with their life, boop, and there's a fork in the road. And they're trying to decide, well, which way should I go? Should I go to the right or to the left? And one of the worries that stops them from picking one of those directions and just trying it out and seeing what happens is this worry that if you get to the end of that road and you realize that it's not the right fit, that you're going to have to turn around and come back. That all of that distance that you've covered, all of that effort that you've made has been for nothing, and that you go back to the place that you started from. And that's where this whole idea of a boomerang came from. Because when you throw a boomerang, it goes out and out and it's trying something, and then it's like, nah, I gotta go back, and it comes back and it lands, ideally. I've never done this myself, but I know that it can happen. And it comes back to the exact same place that it started from. And it's easy to get caught up in this trap of thinking that that's what could happen. Either that's what has happened, either you've been doing something for a while and you've decided you want to change or you want to shift, and you're like, oh, if I change course now, I'm going to lose all of that distance that I've made and I'm going to be back from where I started. Or if you're thinking about doing something different, that you're feeling stuck because of this fear that you're going to pick the wrong path. It's kind of one of these things that gets us stuck. It's like, well, I can't do that because what if it turns out to be wrong? What if I get to the end of it and I'm like, I don't want to be going down this way any longer? Life isn't like that. You are not a boomerang. What I want to compare this idea to, this idea that you can walk down one path and then come back in. And hello to those of you who are watching. If you're here and you want to say hello and I'm here, and if you can relate to the boomerang, and if you think you're a boomerang, feel free to leave a comment. Tell me about that. The hardest part of these Facebook Lives, I got to tell you, the hardest part of these Facebook Lives is not having you next to me. Hi, Melissa. Excellent. It's not having someone here like having back to back. I love Karen Stupik. You are not a boomerang. Hashtag it. That's right. Get it out there. because I love thriving on interaction. So these Facebook Lives, I don't have the face-to-facing happening, so I really invite you to share comments. I'm reading and I'm watching, and it helps me help you, because then I can be inspired by what you're thinking about. All right, so the alternative to the boomerang, and this might seem totally not just like out of left field, but when I was thinking about it, is if you think of an evolutionary tree, right? Evolutionary tree. I study wildlife biology, so I've seen a lot of these. So an evolutionary tree, right? You've got a species or an organism that's moving along in time, and then something happens, right? Half of the group gets sent, blocked off through a geographic change in one place, or there's a big die-off, or there's some kind of mutation, and these trees start to split. And one thing will evolve into something new, and then this will evolve into something new, and this, and you end up with this really complex chain, an evolutionary tree that's constantly moving, constantly moving forward. Okay? When something evolves, it grows and it changes and it moves forward, and it can't devolve. There is no going back in time from that growth and that change. Your life is like that, okay? The decisions you make are branches on this tree in time that are moving forward. And when you get, when you pick a path, if you're trying to decide between a couple things right now or many things, you don't know what to do next, I want to eliminate that fear that you're ever going to come back to exactly where you are now. You're not going to waste any time. You're not going to lose out on anything. What's going to happen is you're going to pick a path, you're going to start walking down it. And if you decide by chance, you're like, you know what, this isn't the direction I want to be going in, it's not feeling right anymore, you don't move backwards. You don't move backwards. You sit and you wait and you be patient and you get comfortable with not knowing until a new possible path opens up in front of you. And then you pick something else and you start going that way. But you don't lose what you've learned. You don't lose the experience of having taken steps. You don't lose that experience of having grown and learned these lessons from trying and from doing. So I'm curious what that's bringing up for you. I'm curious what kind of thoughts you're having, if you feel like you've been living your life kind of on this evolutionary tree moving forward, or if you've been worried about this boomerang effect that you're going to be coming back to the place that you started from. And if this suggestion or this idea gives you hope that actually there is no lost time, there is no coming back to who you were in any moment. In fact, you're a different person now than you were 2 minutes ago. You're thinking different things, you're considering different things, perhaps an insight has come up that could change everything for you, and that is something to celebrate. One last thing that I was thinking of, if you've seen the new Beauty and the Beast film, the live action one, and if you've seen it, feel free to give me a thumbs up and let me know that I'm not alone in this, but I watched it with my kids this past weekend. There's this scene where, so this castle, right, and this prince, and he's very selfish and full of himself, and he gets cursed, and the whole castle gets covered in vines and, in like permanent winter. And Belle's father goes out to sell something, and he gets chased by wolves. And anyway, he's looking for a safe path, and he's going down a path, and he's going down a path, and he's like, where am I going to go? How am I going to get away from these wolves that are chasing after me? And in that moment, a bolt of lightning comes down, and it topples this tree over, and behind the tree is the path to the castle, right? That's been all overgrown because of the curse. And I think about kind of those moments in your life like that, when you're at this, what feels like a crossroads. You don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea where you're going to go next. That sometimes it's just about pausing and waiting and settling down and calming down, and as much as possible being patient and knowing that a new path is in front of you. It's there. It just might be hidden for a moment. It might be hidden behind that whole veil of thinking and overwhelm that you're caught up in because you feel like you can't move forward. So that was just another little image and metaphor I thought of as well, is there is always another path forward, and you're not a boomerang, and you're not going to make your way back. You're not going to head back to where you're not going to end up back where you started. Life isn't like that. So that's what I've got for you today, and I would love to know what's come up, if there are any questions, if there are any comments, if this is resonating, please let me know, because this only has as much power and impact as I know it's relating to you. So please don't hesitate to leave those comments. Miranda, thank you for the likes. And again, if you know what I've been talking about, these videos are just these small little snippets of ideas. Hi, Jen! So happy that you're here. They're just these little snippets of ideas that I love to share, and I'm happy to give away and to just have you take into your life and apply them and let them sink in and see what comes up for you. But if you want to apply this and you want to get my help on working through some stuff on your own, and you really want to dive in and kind of have some personal implementation of these things on your own projects, on your own life, on the things you're experiencing, as always, you are invited to reach out and to connect. The invitation is there to have a discovery call. It's complimentary. I will share the link over in the comments, and I invite you to hop over and set up a time to chat, because I would love to connect with you. Again, that is where I do my best work, is when I'm talking with you and hearing more about your story and what it is that you want to be creating and making happen. So that's what I've got for you today. I'll go ahead and share that link. 1 second. Oh, Miranda, you shared it. Thank you. You think I'd be better at this? I like, you know, sharing this link. Every day I've got to type. I hope you don't mind that little moment. All right, there's that. Okay. Thanks, guys. And again, thank you, Miranda, for sharing. Is emotionally boomeranging the same? Karen, I love that question. Is emotionally boomeranging the same? Well, if by that you mean, and I'd love to know a little bit more about what you're thinking if you want to share in another follow-up comment. When I hear emotionally boomeranging, what I think is that the same thoughts keep showing up, right? And if you've been watching for the past few days, you know that my model that I coach from is that how we feel is a result of what we're thinking in any moment. And thinking is constantly changing. There's just like sometimes we have crazy thought storms and thought tornadoes, and we're really feeling that stress and overwhelm and anger and frustration and resentment and all the big ugly feelings, as I sometimes label them. And sometimes there are these patterns of thinking that come in. And so we're brought back to this same emotional place if those thought patterns come back in. And so I'm not sure if that's really connecting with what you have in mind. I'm curious what you mean by emotionally boomeranging. But the secret when that happens, again, is to not try and stop that from happening, but to notice that it's happening. Because every time you notice, it's like you take a little bit of the power away. You don't give it too much of your attention. You don't indulge it. It's like the cat who wants to keeps coming to your back door for milk. And every time it comes to the back door, you leave it a little bit of milk, and you leave it a little bit of milk. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I don't want this cat here. I don't want the cat to come. So instead of giving it the milk, you just notice it, and you just are aware of it, and you pause. But the cat's going to try and come back a lot more frequently. Right? It's going to really try and push it. And before it starts to go away, it's going to ramp up those efforts. And so emotionally, when you start to pay attention to the things that you're thinking about and noticing your stories, you might notice it more. Like, oh my gosh, look how often I'm having those thoughts. Look how often that story is coming into my mind. But it's in the noticing that you start to take the power away from it. And again, I'm sorry if I'm like going off. I'm not exactly sure if I'm answering your question, Karen, but feel free to share more in the comments, and I want to make sure that I follow up on that. Anything else from all you lovely, awesome people out there today? Okay. Thanks for that little like coming across the bottom. I appreciate that. Okay. I'll be back tomorrow. If you have a time request, feel free to leave it in the comments at any time, and I will try and honor that. And yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to talk about. I've got lots and lots of ideas. So that's good. It'll be something good, I'm sure. All right. You're awesome. Thanks, everyone. And I'll see you mañana.